Hey, what's up, everybody? Ryan Newpel here, the Knup Sports Show, episode 193. I'm excited to have everybody here listening and tuning in post Super Bowl activity. Hopefully, enjoyed the game. I talked about it on a couple previous episodes, but man, what a fun game leading up to the end. It was kind of anticlimactic at the end, but whatever, it is what it is. Hopefully, you enjoyed that, and all is going well after that. Now we're leading into kind of a dead sports time. I mean, March Madness coming up, which will be amazing. But man, when football ends, it's like everybody takes this deep breath and it gets a little crazy. But anyway, today we're not here to talk about actual sports. We're here to talk to another amazing guest that I have for the show. He's going to be a speaker on a panel at iGamingNEXT coming up. We'll talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about his life, his career, and really get to know him. I think you're going to enjoy this episode. So let's dive right in and bring on our guest today. We got Kai Bond. Kai, how are you, my friend?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Oh, amazing. I'm so blessed to have you here today. Hopefully you're doing well. You're up in New York City or New York area, correct?
That's right. Brooklyn today.
Awesome. Amazing. Well, I'm excited to get to know you a little bit, chat with you on here, and I'm sure our listeners are as well. So let's dive right in, Kai. I want to know about you a little bit. So tell me a little bit about yourself, especially from a career side, you know, what your career path has looked like and what kind of got you to where you are today.
Sure. So, my background primarily in tech for the last, close to 20 years. Started off my career at Microsoft back in 2001 and got the bug to join startups. So, made the dive over in 2004. And after a few years working for other folks, I decided to take a deeper plunge into the startup world and start my own company. So in 2006, started a company called Switch Games, a peer-to-peer marketplace for gamers. Unfortunately, not the success we wanted. So wound that down, but was crazy enough to do another venture after that in the real money gaming space in 2010 called Cash Play Games. So chance-based games tied to a sweepstakes engine, providing users the opportunity mobile first to win real money, playing, casino games on their phones. And then started a third company in 2012 called Pixie TV, and that was in the sports space. And that was essentially providing custom content and contextually relevant content on broadcast television. So our big, hero products were Throw Your Fantasy Football, scores, league scores, team scores, standings, injury reports as a ticker on the bottom of your TV. And then we moved into the sports lines, wagering odds, and that was, really sticky. That company ended up getting acquired by Samsung. And when I was there, I helped, scale that product to 60 million smart TVs globally, helped lead their global accelerator program and their investments team out of the New York office, an organization called Samsung Next. And I had the opportunity to go over to Comcast Ventures. And so I joined there, did two things at Comcast. One was leading a fund called Catalyst Fund, which was a $20 million fund focused on underrepresented founders. And the other half was investing out of the flagship fund in gaming. And so looked at, deals from $250,000 to $250 million, large and small checks every stage. And during that time, I invested in 4 companies that Courtside also participated in. In 2016, they were one of the only, funds on the planet that was looking at gaming, that was looking at sports, both highly relevant and interesting to the Comcast Ventures team. And so in 2019, I jumped ship to join Courtside, kind of the blend of going back to the startup world, a little bit more entrepreneurial out of the corporate world. And we raised Fund 2 in 2019. That was a $55 million fund. And then we raised Fund 3, which has recently been announced, which is a $100 million fund dedicated to the world of sports and gaming. So that brings us to today.
Wow, what a career, what a path. You've kind of been, down lots of different channels, but that's amazing. Congrats on all the success. And I'm sure you have tons of stories from each one of those, but that's a lot of different areas of the world you've been in. So very cool.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been, I think the ability and the opportunity to work at large corporates, having a global focus, and then, at small startups, deep in the weeds, has provided a lot of insight, right, on how you look for founders, and what we think of as market moving opportunities that can, generate outsized returns for our investors as well. So,
Sure.
It's been fun. It's been a wild ride. More to come. It's just the beginning of this path at Courtside, and so we're really excited to have some capital deploy in a space that, quite honestly, not a lot of people wanted to invest in. In 2016, we started. When my partner started Courtside Fund One, Vasu had sold and exited a company in the sports tech space. He was never able to raise $1 of venture capital from institutional investors. It was all high net worth individuals, pro team owners, people were in and around the world of sports. And so after that company was sold, he went back to those individuals and essentially said, look, there's real business here. There's real money, and people don't understand this industry. And we think we can capitalize on it. And that was how Courtside, really came to the market, was filling a gap that no other funds were really paying attention to.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's why I want to dive into Courtside now and really talk about, one, how it's been going. And then secondly, kind of dive into your portfolio a little bit and look at some of the investments you've made. And that always interests me, and I'm sure other people, just the types of companies and startup founders that you're working with. But first of all, I know you just kind of talked about Courtside, but tell us how it's been going. Tell us a little bit. I'm going to scroll through the site here as you're talking, but just tell us just a bit of a high level about Courtside as a whole.
Yeah. So, thematic focused fund, sports and gaming are at the very core of everything that we do. But sports and gaming are much broader, areas than people, I think, want to give credit to. When they think of the world of sports, they think of teams. But youth sports is a massive part of the ecosystem, right? There's a huge amount of participatory engagement that goes on at the youth level. You go to the professional level, right? The use of data analytics, to power decision making behind athlete performance around game plans. And then you look at the culture of sport, right? It's much broader. When we, did the investment in StockX, people were like, this idea is crazy. Why is somebody going to want to wear a used pair of sneakers, right? The market's not big enough, and it seemed insane, right? But there was something special around, sports culture and understanding why that limited edition sneaker that came out meant so much to the individuals who followed either that athlete or a particular team in a drop. So, we look at, culture, we look at technology, we look at society, we look at, the evolution of what sports means in a broader picture. And, when it pertains to gaming, I think you're seeing this intersection of sports and gaming, right? Like, we grew up in an era, I won't speak for how old you are, but, the Tecmo Bowl era. I just watched the Bo Jackson 30 for 30 on the plane home from London last week. And, they talk about how Bo Jackson was like unstoppable in that game, right? And these kind of larger than life stories, bringing entertainment and media value, right? Outside of that. So if you look at an investment that we did in something like The Athletic, right? Again, people were like, why is somebody going to pay $50 a year for sports content? You can get it on NBC, ESPN, ABC, Yahoo Sports, but they're never going to write a story about, Boardman gets paid, right? Which is like one of the best, legends around Kawhi Leonard of all time. And that's the story that fans want to connect to. Right? Deep, meaningful connection to an athlete and a player that they love. And obviously, tremendous success there. New York Times acquired that business. And it was a great business because it was subscription business, low churn, high retention business. And so, we look for areas and pockets of the ecosystem that other people, coming from traditional venture might not see as value to the customers that are out there. And sports is a massive audience globally. And so, we have a big global focus. We've invested in India, Nigeria, Brazil, Mexico, Western Europe, United States. And there's something that unifies people, right? You saw it with the World Cup. You see it with large sporting events. The Olympics as another example, bringing the world together. And so, we look for these themes and what we can do to bring great media, entertainment, gameplay to the masses.
Yeah, I love that. I love the intersection of sports and lifestyle and all of that area. I think it is kind of one of those spaces that, yeah, when you think of sports, you just think of the teams. You said that perfectly earlier. And, after kind of scrolling through a bunch of the companies, we won't go deep. You mentioned two, three, four of them already, but several of them on here, amazing companies in gaming and sports and lifestyle all over the place. So lots of cool opportunities, that you guys have had. And I'm sure, lots of success from these businesses. But Kai, I want to shift gears here real quick. We'll get back to courtside here in a second. But I do want to shift gears because you're actually going to be on a panel that I'm going to. I'm going to iGamingNEXT here early March. Actually, this is like 3 weeks away. Crazy how time flies. But in 3 weeks, iGamingNEXT will be hitting New York City 2023. You're on a panel here, I believe, called Specifics Who Will Succeed in 2023. Kind of a broad topic there. I'm curious. Don't give away all your secret sauce from the panel, but can you give us a little nugget or two from what's going to be what you guys are going to cover in that panel?
Yeah, there's been, obviously, anyone who's following this show knows the massive growth and proliferation of real money gaming in the United States. And the growth from daily fantasy into real money gaming and wagering. So we're excited to talk about, what the opportunities are in that space. When we think about the world of real money gaming, there are huge opportunities for growth, both in the sports ecosystem and also beyond that, right? You look at gaming, you look at lottery, you look at sweepstakes, tremendous opportunity. And so, I'll be focusing a lot of my time and energy on, where are the other opportunities that are going to go from 0 to 60 billion, in top line spend over the next 5 years to continue the growth as an industry. So, we'll talk about user engagement. We'll talk around fundraising. We'll talk about monetization and, should be a fun panel. Some great people joining me along the way, folks we've co-invested with, folks I hope to co-invest with moving forward. And so it'll be a lot of fun. And, there's a ton of great speakers. If you look at the lineup, it's, amazing to see, again, big companies, who are represented in this, multi-billion-dollar publicly traded businesses, all the way down to early startups, people who've had, multiple successes and started companies, 5 years back in the DFS space and now coming back at it. And so it'll be a great gathering. Hopefully everybody who's watching this show can figure out a way to attend or some of the events around that.
Yeah, that's going to be amazing, and congrats on being a featured speaker. And I'm excited for this one. I'm excited. I know many of them on the panel, including yourself. Now I'm excited to listen to what you guys have to say, and certainly 10:05 a.m. on Wednesday. So one of the first panels right out the door, right out the chute. People got to be ready to go Wednesday morning for that one. So. iGamingNEXT, March 7th to 9th. If you don't have your ticket already, grab it. Knup10 promo code. You can get a little 10% off. Make sure you grab that. So hope to see you all there. And Kai, for sure, I'll make sure to say hello to you there. Man, good luck on that panel. It's going to be awesome.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Cool. So let's dive back into courtside real quick. What's the future look like for you guys? I mean, is it just as simple as investing in more companies? I mean, what's the future look like for you and for your company?
I think that, as an investor and as a fund manager, there's, 3 areas that we focus on. One is finding the best founders in the world to invest in. Inevitably, at the stage that we invest in, at the pre-seed, seed, Series A, you're making a bet on an individual. And so, we do everything we can, to work with exceptional founders. We've missed on deals, we've passed on deals that have ended up being successful, but we try to maintain, our position as incredibly helpful throughout the entire ecosystem, connecting people, helping hiring. And I think, that kind of good karma will come back, to pay itself forward. The second side is, what does building a brand, what does building, an enduring venture fund look like? We're on fund 3. We hope we get to fund 6, 7, 8, along the line. So, staffing, hiring, managing our investors. Obviously, we have a great roster of folks, corporates in the world of sports, professional team owners, some of the largest, DFS and publicly traded gambling companies. And so we try to add a lot of value. And so when we think about, providing value that's insights, information, knowledge, connections. So building courtside to last through what will inevitably be multiple cycles, some of them great, some of them difficult and challenging. And then the third is really just always continuing to evolve our thesis, right? Culture changes, society changes, technology advances, and trying to figure out how you color in kind of the center of that Venn diagram where you can hopefully identify what the future of the next 3, 5, 7 years looks like. And I always say it's impossible to see around corners, but oftentimes you can see the shadows before you see what's there. And that's really what we're looking for, is what are those signals, and how can we stay out in front.
I love that, and I love what you said. I want to key in on one thing real quick here before I let you go. You mentioned exceptional founders, and you didn't say the best business model, the best business ever. You mentioned the founder of what you're looking at, and so can you give me? I'm sure there are people watching. We know there are so many startup founders and people wanting to get into this space, gaming, sports, whatever it may be. Give us a little bit of what an exceptional founder looks like from a quality side. I mean, again, I know there's not one size fits all when we're talking about that, but there's got to be, some criteria, some type of thing that you look for in an exceptional founder. What does that look like to you guys?
Yeah, it's different for every investor. I think, we look for somebody who has vision and understands maybe some unique insights or data that no one else has, right? And sometimes those are individuals who come from big companies. Sometimes they come from startups. Sometimes they're repeat founders. But the vision and, being able to see, 2-3 years down the line of what, and as a technology evolves and develops, what it will be. Yeah. The second component is an exceptional, execution, right? Someone who, when we've passed on deals before at a pre-seed, and we get their monthly updates and we talk to them quarterly. And then, 9, 12, 14 months later, I'm like, everything this individual CEO has said, they have executed on and done. And why should I now continue to doubt them, right? At the beginning, we had some question marks. Maybe it didn't fit our thesis perfectly. And, we challenge ourselves, right? Like, what are we missing? What are we doing wrong? We don't know everything. But feeding that data back into, our own, kind of thesis and prosecuting that. And so execution is a big component. And then the third that we look for is coachability, right? Like, I was an athlete growing up and played a ton of sports. And, I think when you look at the best athletes in the world and you look at the best entrepreneurs in the world, the parallel is, a tenacity and a dedication to continuing to improve, right? And best CEOs of, multi-billion-dollar companies, the best athletes in the world, they train, they want to get better, they take advice, they take feedback, they get coached, and every year they work on something, right? So it might be my three-pointer, it might be my low post game, it might be my free throw shooting, but every offseason you're going back to the well and saying, like, how can I improve? And the greatest founders do that too, right? How can I be better at marketing? How am I looking at, creating better UI and UX? And so those three components oftentimes give us an indication at the early stages of, what they can potentially accomplish. And again, there's very little data at the stage that we're investing in to be able to base investments on, empirical data. And so we're looking at, signaling around how well you can execute on those three areas. And if you can do those things, oftentimes, you can succeed in this space.
Yeah. Amazing. Thanks for sharing that insight. I think that that'll help a lot of people, I think. And a lot of people are trying to be great founders. They're trying to do the best they can. So any sort of tips and advice there is amazing. So you used some basketball analogies, and you mentioned you played sports. Am I going to guess you played some basketball in your day, or what sports were your key sports that you like to play?
Soccer. So when you mentioned the Super Bowl being over, I was like, I love the Super Bowl. I love NFL football. But there were some amazing Champions League games this week. There was the Arsenal Man City game yesterday. So
you wanted to punch me right across the face when I said that. You're like, wait, what? It's just starting.
Not at all. I can genuinely say I love watching and playing pretty much every sport. There's some sports I don't know well inside and out, cricket being one of them. We've now invested in 4 deals in India, so I'm trying to bring my cricket knowledge up to par so I can have some conversations around that and understand it better. So again, an area of growth for me to expand into and understand better. But soccer is my primary love.
Cool. Awesome, Kai. Well, I appreciate your time here today. I really do. Good luck on the panel. I think that's going to be awesome. I'm excited to listen to you and meet you in person. Any last words? Anything we missed? Anything you want to touch on before I let you go here?
Nothing from my end. Just look forward to seeing you in person. Thank you for having me on. And if anybody out there is interested in chatting, you can find my information on the Courtside website. So I look forward to engaging with everyone out in the audience.
Awesome, Kai. We'll make sure to put those links to Courtside and to you out there in our show notes. That way everybody can find them and get a hold of you, and you'll get flooded with correspondence. So that'll be amazing. All right, my friend. Well, enjoy the rest of your week. We'll see you in about 18 days, I think it is. And we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Kai.
All right. Take care.
All right, that was Kai, Bond of Courtside Ventures. I almost said Adventures. Really excited to have him on. That was an amazing show. Hopefully you got some value out of that. He really dove deep into a few key areas, what they look like, what they look for in founders, where they're headed, some of the companies that they touched on as well. So you can go back, watch that again. We'll have the show notes out in the show as well. Hope to see you at iGamingNEXT again. I'll put up the dates here, March 7th through 9th, promo code Knup10. Make sure you get your ticket if you can't. I think they're almost sold out. So if you're going to get a ticket to that, please make sure you go grab that so you don't, you're not on the sidelines looking in. And if you are going, make sure to send me a message. I'd love to chat with you, touch base with you, have lunch, whatever it may look like. All right. That's all I got for today. That is a wrap on 193rd episode. Hopefully we'll have 7 more this year to get up to 200. That'll be kind of fun. But anyway, we'll talk to you all soon. Thanks for your attention. Stay safe out there, and we'll talk to you all the next one. Bye-bye.